Welcome, adventurers! You've made it to the Wind Down, the live stream at the end of the Geekverse. It's a chill place to hang out here as the sun sets on another day. We're here to have a little chat, reflect on the day's successes, and prepare for a better tomorrow. So settle in with your favorite beverage this evening.
May I tempt you with a cup of chamomile?
Why, thank you, Dory. I would love a mug of tea this evening, but perhaps you would rather have some coffee, though I do recommend decaf this late in the evening. Or perhaps maybe a cold brew is more your style.
Oh, no thank you, Dory. A little red wine. For me, Isaac.
Sounds like an excellent choice, Gandalf. Whatever you want, it's yours. Could I offer you a bourbon, a martini, an old-fashioned, or something perhaps a little stronger? Ugh. Well, I mean, if that's really your thing, then okay, but I hope we can find something a bit better than that.
Romulan ale? Why, Bones, you know this is illegal.
I only use it for medicinal purposes.
All right, now we're talking. I'm Heath, and I'll be your host. Welcome to my home. Come one, come all, writers, artists, sculptors, storytellers, board gamers, streamers, dungeon masters, fans of sci-fi, fantasy, geeks of all kinds. Whatever your fandom, you have a place here. For soon it will be time for another long rest so that we can recover our hit points, our spells, and our abilities, so we'll be ready to fight on for another day tomorrow. But first, we all need a little time to reflect, because you've survived another long, perilous day of wilderness treks, dungeoneering, and random encounters, and that's worth celebrating. Let's tell the tale. It's time for the Wind Down. It will improve your life. It really will. Give it a chance. Here we go. Good evening, everyone. Good evening. Where is my controller for my fog? Here we go. Good evening. How are things going? I hope they're going well. What are we going to talk about tonight? What kinds of things can we talk about tonight? I've got some different things that might be on my list if people are interested in hearing what I have to think about. But does anyone have any other topic that has come up during the day or during the wind down or during the morning grind, rather, that we haven't been able to chat about? If so, hey, put it in the comments. We can talk about it. Hey, Stray. Hello. So, I'm trying something a bit different tonight. I've got a different kind of theory on some things going on here. And so tonight I have a little bit of tequila, actually. So let's breathe, but then instead of sipping, I will do a shot of tequila. So let's breathe. And now sip or do a shot. All right. Well, I hope you have had a good day. And around here, there are two different options. I hope your day is going very well. And if it has, then let's put GD in the chat. I would say this was a good day. So I was GD in the chat. The other option is WIT, W-I-T. Could be WIT, because that means you will improve tomorrow. So you can be GD or WIT. I'm GD in the chat. It was a good day. I did not get up early this morning. That didn't happen. I don't know why. Didn't get up early this morning, which meant that cascaded throughout my whole day, and I didn't get everything done I wanted to get done. But it was a good day nonetheless. Tony. Hello, Tony. Tony says, good day, GD. Excellent. So glad to hear it. So if you have questions, I'll be happy to take some questions, or if you have a topic for conversation you'd like to talk about, please let me know. Otherwise, we're happy to celebrate victories here. If something particularly good happened to you today that you want to celebrate, maybe something that nobody else in your life appreciates. And if that's the case, then we can celebrate it here. Very happy to. Now, Stray is GD and WIT, and I do think this is a good philosophy because it could be a good day, but we could still be going to a great day tomorrow. Could be going to a great day. Tony, good to see you. Good to see you. Tony says it was a good day. Excellent. So glad to hear it. And so glad to have you on the stream, too. Did you have any random encounters? Did anything weird happen to you today that you want to talk about? Well, if you have anything weird to share, we can talk about random encounters, too. So I'm happy to share how my day went. I can bring up the auxiliary camera here. I didn't get done with everything I wanted to. Let's see. I'm trying to fix my, well, I've got two different ways to do the auxiliary camera, depending on how much detail we need. That might fall. We will see. I did not heed the call to adventure today. And I also did not complete all three of them. But if you did, you'd be CTA. CTA, if you heeded the call to adventure. The call to adventure, heeding the call to adventure, that means that you got up at the time you wanted to get up in the morning and you were working on the projects that you wanted to work on. So if that happened, then you were CTA. I did not. I don't know why. I slept late. I guess I just ignored the alarm clock and then woke up later. So I was not that. MBR means you moved your big rocks. Uh-oh. We got some conflict in the chat. There's no room for one Tony in this chat. LOL. Yeah, that's fantastic. We've got two Tonys in the chat. MBR means you moved your big rocks. And I did commission the Faded Edge logo. That's the logo for the RPG that we're developing here on this stream. So I needed to get that so that we will be able to put up YouTube thumbnails and things like that about the RPG. So I at least commissioned that today. So that's going out. I didn't get my emails sent out. I got close to having that done, but didn't quite get to that. And then there's something else I need to do. I need to transfer some money between bank accounts. And then also tomorrow, I got to go through all of the Tales of Rabavania figure parts in much more detail, and then write back to the manufacturer about that. So I was not MBR. Okay, I'm not AF because I'm just sitting here having a shot of tequila. Now, let me tell you about this situation. So one of the reasons that I had tried to, I said, well, I guess I'm going to have to go alcohol-free is because it's very difficult to lose weight when you're drinking alcohol. So I have found. So I was like, well, I guess I'd better try to cut this out. Lately, though, so this is something new that I'm trying, that, well, now they've got this thing called the keto diet. Has anybody been on this? You're trying to lose weight on this keto diet, and you're supposed to drive your carbs really low. And then similar to that is this whole carnivore diet. Carnivore diet, I suppose that's the ultimate in low carb kind of thing. And if you're carnivore, of course, you're not going to be drinking alcohol anyway, because that would not be something that's carnivore. But there are apparently some different alcohols that are keto compliant. Have you heard of this? And so I was like, no, wait a minute. This is interesting, because traditionally I would have said that you can't, it's very difficult for me to lose weight while drinking alcohol. But now I'm curious. Now, wait a minute. If you drink these keto approved alcohols, does it still work just as well? Now, there are other reasons to not drink alcohol. I'm not saying that. But I'm just saying that, so wait a minute, was I wrong about that? Are there some alcohol that I could drink and you could still derive the keto, benefits of that diet or something like that? So it's something, I do like self-experiments all the time. So now I'm thinking, wait a minute, this kind of self-experiment, because I had been eating for about the past, since like Sunday, like all meat. Right, vodka could be. That's why tequila, they said that tequila was, because it actually has no carbs. And I was trying to figure out how that worked. Because I would have said that the alcohol in the calories in alcohol, I guess I would have said carbs, like red wines, even red wines are low. I read that some red wines can be drunk because they're very low in carbohydrates. And then if you're under like your 20 carbohydrates or something like that, if you don't have any other carbohydrates during the day, then there's some red wines you could have on keto. So I didn't know this. So this is something that I was like, so now I'm curious. I'm like, so wait a minute. Does that mean that there are some alcohols or wines that could be drunk? And I like drinking red wine when I'm writing. I find I can write a lot of words if I sit down and have a glass of red wine. And so I would hate to completely cut that out. So once I get my index cards finished for this story, and it's time to actually sit down and start doing some words, it's about time to start making core creative time about writing words. But that would be really interesting if I could still incorporate like a red wine, like a Cabernet, into the evening when I'm writing, and still be seeing the kinds of weight loss things that I've been seeing. I also recently just stumbled across. So I'm curious. So when I'm curious about something, I conduct an experiment or try it out, figure out what happens. I was also, because of this, I fell into the particular part of Instagram where there are these beautiful women who, what they do is they talk about how all they do is eat steak, eggs, and sticks of butter. And they're like, their reels and their stories and things like them are them like eating sticks of butter. I had never encountered this part of Instagram before. It's a very interesting part of Instagram. So apparently that is that's working for them. And of course this is Instagram, so they're all like, bombshell beautiful or something like that. So who knows? Maybe the key to that is to eat steaks and sticks of butter. Who knows? All right. So they're trying that experiment. Apparently working for them. What else was going on here? So I really failed it a lot today. I did hit, I can't be watch rings yet because I'm still one short of my stand goal. Oh, well, I'll get that before I go to bed. So I'm not even quite watch ring yet, but I did do the diet as I was trying to do the diet. So I'll get watch ring before the end of the night here. And then over here, I did hit my time goals, except for I didn't get to clean. There was no cleaning today, so I don't get my blue check marks. So today it was because if I don't wake up early, then I'm out of action, and then we'll see how late tonight goes. So I'll get at least one here on YouTube, and we'll just see how we go tonight. Anyway, so that's what happened to me today. Stray says gross. Well, see, that's what I would have said originally, but on the other hand, they're able to make quite attractive Instagram reels and stories based just on eating sticks of butter. Tony says, Tony Miramontes, I myself like to, we get distinguished between the Tonys here. I myself like tequila with fruit punch flavored crystal light with Splenda and lime, sugar-free margarita. Oh, well, that's very interesting. Because I was like, okay, so wait a minute. If the tequila is the, no carb or something like that that's permitted on the keto diet kind of thing, I was like, too bad that a margarita isn't, because by the time you add it to the margarita mix, then you're talking about a whole bunch of sugars. But it might be that you have the answer right here, Tony. So we do tequila with fruit punch flavors crystal light, Splenda and lime, and you get a sugar-free margarita. I might have to try that. I just might have to try that. I can make it a fantastic margarita. I made margaritas on the Dinner and a Board Game show at least once. High quality ingredients. Gaming at my house, we can do some margaritas, but that would not be keto friendly. Hey, Keith. Hi, just got back from work. Glad to see you are still winding down, folks. I still am. Oh, Keith says, you're looking freaking fab, Heath. Oh, well, thank you. Well, see, that's part of it. I appreciate that. And I feel so much better than when I started this. This is like day 37 or 38 or something of this live streaming. But, part of what's been happening here is that I've been losing weight. Let's see, I weighed in today at 183.8 pounds. And I was, toward the beginning of this experiment in live streaming, I was 192.1. Now, I did briefly hit as low as 180, but I think that must have been water weight or something like that because I gained it back. So I'm sitting right here. When was that? That was back on the 10th of November. Oh, so basically not quite a month ago, but very close to a month ago. And I've lost close to 10 pounds, like 9 pounds or something like that. So that's been part of the unexpected part of this. And I feel so much better. And so I really appreciate that. I appreciate the compliment because I was not feeling that great or looking that great a month ago. Stray says butter stick is not fruit. See, I'm wondering, like, what if, is there a way to improve the butter stick? Maybe, what if we fried the butter stick in like bacon grease? Maybe that would make these particular women very happy. Like that would improve the butter stick. Keith says, I watched the first 7 or 8 episodes, but then had to leave for work off grid. These discussions really helped me. I can't thank you enough. Have to get caught up on the streams. Oh, well, I am so glad. I am so glad that they are helpful to you. I really am. I designed them because I needed help myself. And I was like, this is the kind of structure I got to add to my day. And I thought maybe other people might need this as well. So I really appreciate that, Keith. I really, really do. And I'm very happy about that. Hopefully we're all going to get to where we want to go. That's the goal here. I mean, I get DMs from all kinds of people who are in the Discord. Let me put the Discord server link in here. For anyone who is new here, let me grab the Discord server link. Copy that, put that in. I'm trying to build a very positive and constructive YouTube community, yes, but also Discord community. So if you're not part of the Discord community, please click and join us. I was working with that a little bit today, but I didn't get quite done with that. I'm getting close. Oh, in fact, I wonder if there's some things that we could talk about with some ideas about how rules of conduct for the Discord community. Because I've got a draft. The draft's not quite ready yet. Maybe tomorrow or the next day. I'm about ready to post some rules for the Discord to help us out. It's just guidelines about what we want the community to be. Because as it grows, of course, there needs to be some kind of guidelines, or there's some kind of drama that happens or something like that. So just have to be prepared for that. But I think I've got a good way to run that. So we will see. But maybe that's some other time. So, topic for this evening. Does anybody have any interesting topic for this evening? Let's see here. Let me go to my notes. So, rules for operation in Discord, maybe in another couple of days. I had a note here about the relationship between work and what you want to do and compensation for that, which might isn't exactly in the Geekverse, but it is part of being a creator. And of course, we can be creating things here in the Geekverse. But I've noticed that for me, a long time ago, I was very interested in the area of don't take a vacation, because you should be designing a life that you don't need a vacation from. And that was the kind of idea that, well, now wait a minute. Now, there are two very different philosophies on that. And I forget who I had the conversation with. It might have been Keith here on one of the wind downs. That he was saying that he does definitely segment work from hobby and fun time in a great way, a very defined way. And I think this is an excellent way to go. And it's one that shouldn't be understated. Because if you say you go to work and, maybe you're not, even if you're not, I don't know what Keith's situation was, but even if you're not just thrilled with work, what you're doing, well, but you're able to make enough money at that particular job that you do the job, and then you come home, and then you're able to completely embrace whatever it is that you do like as far as your hobbies go, and are able to do those on your days off. If it's something physical like going hunting or fishing or water skiing or whatever that is, it supports all of that. You keep those things completely separate, and then you just think about work when you're at work, and then when you're off of work, then hey, you've had sufficient compensation to go and enjoy your hobby. I think that is a fantastic way to go. Because I think it's a fantastic way to go, because if you start to try to integrate what you are really interested in, as far as also something that's making money, there are a lot of sacrifices that come with that. And sometimes people stop enjoying the thing that they were originally enjoying. And like I gave the example, if you decide to run a tabletop game publishing company, the amount of time you play tabletop games is probably going to decrease. And that may not be what you want, because the reason that you were interested in this in the first place is because you enjoyed playing tabletop games. So it's not always the appropriate thing to do to make your interest something that you're trying to actually make money from. It can work, but there's certainly an argument to be made that you shouldn't do that, or a path in which you don't do that. But what are you going to want for doing something during the day for work that's outside of what you actually want to do? You probably want more compensation, right? So I suppose the worst situation is where you're separating these two things, work and then your hobbies or the Geekverse or whatever it is. But then work also isn't compensating you sufficiently so that you can actually go and enjoy the time away from work, going and doing whatever you want to do as part of your hobbies and things like that. I've been in that situation, and that's a terrible situation to be in, because then, it'd be one thing if your work supports your hobbies and your interests. But if it's not even doing that, then that's when people start to get depressed, right? That can be a very depressing kind of situation. You're like, hey, or if I'm doing this, I've got to have more money so that I can really enjoy my time off. But on the other hand, an advantage of sort of putting together what you like with your hobby or in the Geekverse or whatever with what you are doing for work is that suddenly you may need less compensation or may desire less compensation. You may be willing to work for less because you are working on exactly what you want to be working on every day. You're not having to distinguish between those things. You're like, well, as long as I'm getting up and I'm doing what I really like and involved in the kinds of things I like, then if it pays less, like especially it probably will be when you're starting out, if you're trying to run an independent publishing company for your own novels or your own games or your own video games or whatever it is, well, you will accept that because you are at least doing exactly what you wanted to be doing. And so that's how I see this relationship between compensation, goes. Well, you can do something that is outside of your interest, but then make sure you're compensated well for it so that you can make sure that you are still able to maintain your interest. On the other hand, you can do something inside your interest. And then, especially if you're working for yourself, you may be willing to accept lesser compensation because every day is part of what you want to do. And that's part of kind of designing the life that you might not need a vacation from. You might not need a vacation because every day is exactly what you're trying to do. Let's see. Stray says, I like getting lost and seeing which one of my friends' vans finds me first. Well, okay, there are things that, there are things you can also do. Of course, it seems like no matter what hobby it is, it gets more expensive as you progress in it. And I was wondering, what are examples of hobbies that you could get into that actually do not get more expensive as you really get into them? Is that just the case with all hobbies? You have to control that with your hobby. Like, how much time is that actually, how much money is a hobby actually taking up? Because there's a lot of things you can get into rather cheaply, including things like tabletop gaming. Keith says hiking. I'm not even sure about that because I've kind of gotten into hiking. Now, I've been hiking around here, but if I'm just walking, that doesn't really take a whole lot more time or more effort. But the more I look into hiking gear, the better quality hiking gear, the different types of backpacks, the different types of hiking gear, ultralight hiking gear, different rigs for different situations, upgrading your medical equipment, your medical pouches to go with you. And then also potentially getting to different trails can be expensive. Bird watching doesn't get more expensive. Did we find one? That may be it. All you need is your notebook to, and your binoculars to record what birds you're seeing. I had a professor when I was in graduate school that was very much into bird watching. I didn't know how deep people got into that until I heard him talk about it and all the different lists they maintain and things like that. So maybe bird watching. Although I suppose eventually if you're going to go see new birds, you got to travel. That's why, he maintained lists for different regions and sections of the country for different kinds of birds that he saw. So I don't know if that was great insight into the relationship between work and money, but that was one that I had been thinking of. This one also is probably a good idea to do another small topic. I'm not sure how late I'm going to go tonight. Not very late, because I want to turn in so that I can get started again tomorrow early and sort of get back on track. But one thing that I had to talk about, I thought I did a video on this, but I couldn't find the video, so maybe it got deleted and taken down or something like that, is the relationship between necromancy and healing magic. The relationship between necromancy and healing magic, because I was surprised when I was playing a necromancer. I was going to play a necromancer, and I did play a necromancer in one of Lou's D&D games, and I was expecting to be the healer. There are a lot of things changed. First of all, I was playing the Dampire. That's what the half vampire was. The other night I couldn't think of that, but the Dampire from Midgard. And I said, all right, we're going to play the necromancer as like a gothic half vampire guy. But I kind of messed up, and I gave him the acolyte background, so that, because I was thinking from the character perspective, that he's got this obsession with religion and death, because he's the half vampire and all of that. And I was expecting to be the healing wizard, because traditionally I associate healing magic with necromancy. So some people may not know this. Let me grab the 5th edition. Okay, this one too, right here. Because I actually saw also a thread on Twitter that was like the changing evolution of the healing spell. So let's see. Let's go over here and see, like, Cure Light Wounds. This is what I'm looking up, is the 2nd edition Advanced Dungeons and Dragons book right here. And I suppose this always kind of stuck with me. Now, unfortunately, it's not as easy to find spells in 4th level spells in this book, because they're organized by level instead of just being alphabetical. That's been an increase in efficiency. Organize your spells by alphabetical order rather than by level. But where's Cure Light Wounds? Can anyone back me up here that in AD&D 2nd edition, healing is a necromancy spell? Tony says, bird watching leads to playing Wingspan, leads into board games, leads into spending too much on Kickstarter, leads to homelessness. Well, there is that. There is that. I have not played Wingspan yet. My brother and his wife did. Somebody got Wingspan for Christmas. And someone else in the family, and so they got to play it. But I have not played it yet. Has anybody else played Wingspan or not played Wingspan? I've actually played very few of Jamie's games. I have got Viticulture over here someplace. I think I had to move to an auxiliary board game shelf in the closet. So I think I may have taken that one over there. But I've got Viticulture, and I'm not sure if I have Scythe or not. Has anyone played Scythe? So I've been a little bit out of touch on Jamie's games. I followed a lot of what he's doing. And I got to talk to him here on this channel, which was fantastic. Let's see here. Oh, no, here it is, right here. Look. Okay, Cure Light Wounds. Let's see what Tony has to say. Tony says, I have not, by Noah Guy. He sleeps outside. Cure Light Wounds. Right. No. Right here. Cure Light Wounds. Necromancy. Right there. Cure Light Wounds. Necromancy. I knew that was the case. I am used to Cure Light Wounds being a necromancy spell, because opposites are studied within the same discipline, right? So if you're studying death, then you should also be studying life, right? The study of death would its flip side, because under the philosophy that opposites are always studied within the same discipline, the study of life and death would be studied in the same discipline. So if you're a necromancer, then yes, how to raise the dead, how to deal with death would be part of that, but also how to reverse death and to be a healer. So I thought that was really interesting. All this, so that's how it always was to me. That healing is a necromancy spell, but then all of a sudden that's changed. Picked up the wrong book. Player's Handbook. Let me grab the Player's Handbook. This is the 3.5 edition Player's Handbook. Let's see what it is here, because I was seeing in this Twitter thread that it has changed so much. So let's look up Cure Light Wounds here, or just Cure Wounds, or whatever it is. This is in 3.5. Man. Cure Wounds. Okay. So Cure Critical Wounds. See, in 3.5, it is Conjuration. Cure Critical Wounds is Conjuration. Cure Critical Wounds Mass is Conjuration. Cure Light Wounds, all the cure spells are Conjuration. Healing. Cure Light Wounds Mass, Conjuration. Cure Minor Wounds, Conjuration. Cure Moderate Wounds, Conjuration. Moderate Wounds, Conjuration. Serious Wounds, Conjuration. Ryan says, good evening, good evening. Stray says, can you cause light wounds? Yes, I think so. Actually, that's a great thing to bring up. Let me come back over here. Because spells used to be just deliberately reversible, right? And to me, that adds to the idea that opposites are studied within the same discipline. And so healing and death. Well, okay. I happened to open the page to not cure light wounds, but to the spell heal. Okay, this is in AD&D 2nd edition. The spell heal, it says, is a necromancy spell, and it is reversible. Specifically telling you that you can reverse it. So, sphere, healing, range, touch, duration, permanent, area of effect, 1 creature. It's a verbal and somatic spell, has a casting time of 1 round and a saving throw none. So, heal, it says, this very potent heal spell enables the priest to wipe away disease and injury in the creature who receives the benefits of the spell. It completely cures all diseases or blindness of the recipient and heals all points of damage suffered due to wounds or injury. It dispels a feeble-minded spell. It cures those mental disorders caused by spells to injure the brain. Naturally, the effects can be negated later by wounds, injuries, and diseases. Okay, the reverse of the spell, harm, inflicts the victim with a disease and causes a loss of all but 1d4 hit points. If a successful touch is inflicted, for creatures that are not affected by the heal or harm spell, see the Cure Light Wounds spell. So, yes. So that was back when spells could deliberately be reversed. So the reverse of a heal spell is a harm spell. And we don't do that in 5th edition, right? I don't think I remember that. But like Cure Light Wounds. So here's Cure Critical Wounds. And it's a necromancy spell, and the reverse of this spell, Cause Critical Wounds, operates in the same fashion as other Cause Wound spells, requiring a successful touch to inflict 3d8 plus 3 points of damage. Caused wounds heal via the same method, as do the wounds of other sorts. Now, where do we get the idea that Cure Light Wounds will damage the undead, and that Cause Light Wounds will heal the undead? See, that's another association and another reason why I think that it belongs in the necromancy school. Because by tradition, is that in 5th edition? I don't know if it's continued, but I don't even know if here. Let's see if we got Cure Light Wounds. Cure Light Wounds specifically says, okay, when casting the spell and laying hands upon a creature, the priest causes 1d8 points of wounds or other injury damage to the creature's body to be healed. This creature cannot affect creatures without corporeal bodies, nor can it cure wounds of creatures not living or of extraplanar origin. So Cure Light Wounds would not be able to cure the undead. But the reverse of this spell, Cause Light Wounds, operates the same manner, inflicting 1d8 points of damage. If a creature is avoiding the touch, an attack roll is needed to determine if the priest's hand strikes the opponent and causes a wound. Curing is permanent only insofar as the creature does not sustain further damage. Okay, yeah. So it doesn't explicitly say right there in that spell description about that effect of the undead, but it's there in different games, right? I probably might be mentioned in something about the undead stat blocks or something like that. Keith says, also, necromancy does lend itself to infusing life into death. Yeah, right, exactly. Yes, exactly. Stray says, used to be able to, not sure in 5e. Yeah, I don't think that the spells are, you have immediate reversible spells in 5e. That's the Dungeon Master's Guide. Here's 5e right here. I don't remember that as part of this. So let's go over here to just cure wounds. RSTU. Cure wounds. See now in fifth edition, it's evocation. It's evocation here. So I don't know what it was in fourth. I don't have the fourth edition books, but in second edition, it was necromancy. It's conjuration in 3.5, and it's evocation here in fifth. What's going on here? So it says a creature you touch regains a number of hit points equal to 1d8 plus your spell casting ability modifier. This spell has no effect on undead or constructs. And then it happens at higher level. There's nothing in here about saying about reversing the spell. That must just be a separate kind of spell. Keith says, do we still drink and breathe? Yes, we did that. We actually did start with that, but you know what? I think it's time to do that again, because I think in my experiment here with can I do, are there certain types of alcohols that you can drink that do not have the carbohydrates, which still enable you to do this keto or close to carnivore diet thing? I should do another shot of tequila. So I'll do this. Let's do this with you, Keith. Let's do this right now. So let's breathe. Deep inhale, complete exhale. We'll do that twice. And then take a sip of whatever it is that you've got. I will do this shot of tequila. I don't have a lime, but that'll work. So, interesting experiment. So, right. There we go. Stray says positive or negative energy. Right. Now I'm curious about this. Where can we track this down? I'm going to look. I've got another place to look. But that's why, to me, hold on. I need a description. Where do I find a description of the schools of magic? So to understand what the canonical descriptions are. Of these different schools. Okay, right here, the schools of magic. I'm in 5th edition at the moment. So it says necromancy spells manipulate the energies of life and death. Okay, right. Yeah, seems like that should include healing, right? Such spells can grant an extra reserve of life force, drain the life energy from another creature, create the undead, or even bring the dead back to life. Creating the undead through the use of necromancy spells such as animate dead is not a good act, and only evil casters use such spells frequently. Now, there's probably a game balance issue in here. That's what's going on. That let's just have good priests doing the healing, and let's divorce this from the idea of wizards and necromancy and things like that. So maybe there's a game balance thing. But thematically, I'm still saying healing spell should be necromancy. Now, in 5th edition, the healing spell is evocation, and evocation spells manipulate magical energy to produce a desired effect. Some call up blasts of fire or lightning. Others channel positive energy to heal wounds. Okay, actually, I think that's a lame description. So let me say that again. Evocation spells manipulate magical energy to produce a desired effect. That sentence right there describes every use of magic. I mean, abjuration, conjuration, divination, enchantment, illusion, necromancy, transmutation, all of those manipulate magical energy to produce a desired effect. That tells me they didn't know what to write for evocation right there. It just says some call up blasts of fire or lightning, others channel positive energy to heal wounds. That's a very unsatisfying description of evocation magic to me. So what is conjuration? It used to be conjuration, but according to 5th edition, conjuration spells involve the transportation of objects and creatures from one location to another. Some spells summon creatures or objects to the caster's side, whereas other allow the casters to teleport to another location. Some conjurations create objects or effects out of nothing. Okay, wait a minute. Let's go back to the days of hardcore and take a look at the school descriptions here. Keith says vodka might be good for that diet. Yeah, I think it actually would be, because I wasn't aware that there were alcohols that were like keto friendly. Vodka, keto diet or carbohydrates. So this says, for instance, pure forms of alcohol like whiskey, gin, tequila, rum, and vodka are all completely free of carbs. These beverages can be drunk straight or combined with low-carb mixers for flavor. So that's really interesting. So I'm curious about all this. I'm changing up all of my thinking regarding nutrition after seeing the hot Instagram women eating butter. We will see how. We'll see how that works. We'll see how long we have those women too. Might be that they check out early. We will see. Who knows? We will see. We will see. In 5th, the 2 planes got merged. The negative and positive planes. Let's go over here. Oh, I bet this is under specialist wizards. Yep, specialist wizards right here. Let's see. We got the 9 schools of magic. See table 22. Necromancy, invocation and evocation. What happened to invocation? Specialist wizards. If you're specializing in a particular type of magic. Oh, Keith. Oh, good. Keith just checked my 4th edition books, and Cure Light Wounds is a daily power divine healing. So 4E seems to have taken the spells way out of the park that we're used to. Ah, okay. That's interesting. Thank you for checking up on that. I don't have any of those books. So yes, so they did something even just off the wall in 4th edition. Well, I never played 4th edition, but that does seem to be par for the course from what I've heard. Okay, I want the definition of all the different ones we're not under specialist wizards. So I am still on tracking things down here. Well, here it doesn't give me a rundown of what all of these spells are either here. But what I was wondering was, is it in the monster manual? Is it in the AD&D monster manual where perhaps we come up with the idea that the undead are healed by causing wounds and harmed by healing wounds? Because that wasn't in that core book. But that idea has to have come from somewhere. It wasn't in the core spell description. Let's just look up skeleton. So now I am in the AD&D 2nd edition monster manual. Let's just look up skeleton. Well, where's skeleton? Or zombie? Here's zombie. Is it going to tell us? So that seems like something that would be told in general undead or something like that. I'm not seeing it under zombie. That's interesting. We'll have to run that down someplace else. So it's not under the zombie entry. Does anybody happen to know where that might be have introduced? PHB Cleric? Really? Let's see. In second edition? Keith says the same applies to turning undead. Evil aligned gains control of undead when they turn. So maybe it's in, okay, maybe it's under cleric. Okay, I'm looking in AD&D. I'm going to look under cleric. Well, oh, here's priest, cleric. Requirements, spells allowed. This says, healing spells are those that cure diseases, remove afflictions, or heal wounds. These spells cannot restore life or regrow lost limbs. Healing spells can be reversed to cause injury, but such use is restricted to evil priests. Protective, merciful deities are most likely to grant these spells, while nature deities may have lesser access to them. Necromantic spells restore to a creature some element of life force that has been totally destroyed. It might be life, a limb, or an experience level. Those spells in reverse are powerfully destructive and only used by extremely evil priests. Deities of life and death most likely act in this sphere. Well, if it's here, it's not organized in a way to find it. It actually doesn't even say. It doesn't even give me the spell turning the turning the undead stuff here. It must be in a different section. Well, but anyway, turn or rebuke. Yeah, let's go. Let's look up now. See, that seems like something that will be over here. Let me go to 3.5 before we end this line of inquiry, and let's just see what it says over here about the cleric, sorcerer, druid, class skills, spells, spontaneous cast, turn or rebuke undead. That is a category here in 3.5. Any cleric, regardless of alignment, has the power to affect the undead creatures, such as skeletons, zombies, ghosts, and vampires, by channeling the power of his faith through his holy or unholy symbol. A good cleric, such as a neutral cleric who worships a good deity, can turn or destroy undead creatures. An evil cleric or neutral cleric who worships an evil deity instead rebukes or commands such creatures, forcing them to cower in awe of his power. So you can either turn or destroy, or rebuke and command. If your character is a neutral cleric of a neutral deity, you must choose whether his turning ability functions as that of a good cleric or an evil cleric. Once you make this choice, it cannot be reversed. This decision also determines whether the cleric can spontaneously cast cure or inflict spells, see above. Exceptions. All lawful neutral clerics of Jas, goddess of death and magic, rebuke or command undead. All clerics of St. Cuthbert, god of retribution, and all non-evil clerics of Obadiah, god of nature, also turn or destroy undead. So spontaneous casting. A good cleric or a neutral cleric of a good deity can channel stored spell energy into healing spells that the cleric did not prepare ahead of time. The cleric can lose any prepared spell slot that's not a domain spell in order to cast any cure spell of the same level or lower. And then over here, I suppose it's going to say that evil clerics can't convert spells into cure spells, but can convert them into inflict spells and negative energy. Turn or rebuke. Right. Yeah, well, that's what we just were looking at. I saw that comment. Thank you, Stray. Keith says, I'm thinking back to second. I'm not sure what the newer editions say. Maybe I had third on my head and not second. Yeah, I think that this idea of the negative energy and I wanted cure spells, healing undead. I'm pretty sure that we did have that in second. I'm pretty sure I'm remembering that from something from second edition. But where it is, it's now interesting to find because it's not just something that's written into the PHB under the Cure Light Wounds spells, which is really interesting. So it must have been some kind of idea that developed later, and I didn't see it immediately. And like, it seems cumbersome to have to put that under every undead entry in the monster manual. So there must have been something else that came along that created this general rule about positive and negative energy, and yeah, the way they affect curing and healing. But like I said, all that goes together to my idea that, hey, I preferred that under necromancy, the healing spells under necromancy. Yeah, it seems like something that we should be able to pinpoint because we all seem to remember it. And I remember that being, sort of back in the day of the cumbersome kind of ad hoc spell things that, you can cast heal spells, you can reverse that, and it will be an inflict spell or a create wound spells or cause wound spells, I think is what it's called. But then also your effect is reversed on the undead. I think it's interesting. I think it's interesting, and it further ties, like I said, the heal spells to the College of Necromancy. But although, is it not true that a necromancer could cast that spell in a wizard could cast that spell in second edition? So that's what I thought I was remembering when I was trying to create a necromancer for fifth edition, and it didn't quite work. But that Cure Light Wound spell is under the priest category. But I had thought, maybe incorrectly, I thought I remembered the necromancer being the healing wizard. But see, now maybe they changed that so that for niche protection, and that, okay, only clerics are the ones who heal. And you don't have wizards that also heal. That would be a limitation to a wizard. They can't heal. I don't know. Interesting. So that's why I was shocked that I was not going to play. First of all, I built my Damphir Necromancer badly. He was still lots of fun to play. But then I was also not the healing wizard like I thought I was going to be. Let's see. Clerics have spheres in second edition, Keith says. Yeah, okay, so I think that must have been what I was reading when it had different was talking about healing magic and stuff. Granted powers. Yeah, spells allowed. Yeah, a priest of a particular mythos is allowed to cast the spells from only a few related spheres. The priest's deity will have major and minor access to certain spheres, and this determines the spells available to the priest. And then the spheres were all animal, astral, charm, combat, creation, divination, elemental, guardian, healing, necromantic, plant, protection, summoning, sun, weather, and weather. Now, that was a different way to go, because that means that a sphere can have overlapping stuff. And that's why some of the healing spells overlap with what's in the necromantic spells, according to the spheres. So yeah, you could be the healing sphere and have the healing stuff, but you could also be part of the necromantic sphere and have the healing stuff. Stray says, I got nuked as a vampire by a heal crit potion. Oh, a critical healing potion? Ooh. I bet that did hurt. Keith says, but that might be very similar to the schools of magic. I need to bust out my books to check. Yeah, it seems similar, but related, but not identical to what was going on in the wizard school of magic. BGD says, I once homebrewed a magic user spell called Dim Mirror of Faith, which allowed a wizard to clone any cleric spell that had been cast upon the wizard in the last 24 hours. Oh, that's interesting. Yeah, he was probably likely to have cure spells cast upon him, and then he could handle it. This led to some interesting fastball specials when the wizard and the cleric teamed up. Yeah, I bet that's interesting. All right, well, I think it is just about time to wind down here. This has been a very interesting discussion. Maybe we'll continue that in the future if I come up with something and I find some information on that, or I find that reference. Or if you do, let me know. We'll talk about it more and continue that discussion. But I appreciate everybody who has been here. I appreciate you all. It's been great. I have enjoyed it. I will see you all tomorrow. We might be talking about the white hack. I want to do a few more RPG things. There are a few other ones that I want to look at before we start trying to put all this stuff that we've been learning together and start building one out. But white hack I want to look at, and I've been trying to for a while. So I think white hack might be tomorrow. Need white hack and black hack. Those have been also recommended to me multiple times by people in the community. So maybe looking at white hack in the morning. All right, I'm going to leave you with Good Night Sword,
Good
like I
Night
always
Sword.
do.
Written
I really
by
appreciate
E.
everybody
H.
being here. And I look forward to seeing you in the
Illustrated by
Discord
Adam M.
and
Botsford.
also on YouTube.
Narrated by Brianna De Silva. Part of the Tales of Rabavania. Good Night Sword. Good Night Gourd. Good night, guards who keep us all safe. Good night, dagger. And the iron hauberk. Good night, cheese. Good night, keys. Good night, elm. And good night, helm. Good night, squire. And good night, liar. Good night, shield. And good night to the lance only the gallant wield. Good night, banner. And good night, jewel. Good night, gruel. Good night, knights. And good night to the old soldier who says time's been cruel. Good night, maiden fair, whose favor I bear. Good night, rabbits everywhere.